Hello everyone and welcome to our YouTube channel. Before we start, we would like you to please support us by subscribe and like our video and turn on the bell to receive new videos. Today we're going to do some work on a 2010 Nissan Murano by replacing the lower control arm. This also applies to 2006 till 2009 Muranos. And the work is about 90 to 2 hours, depends on the tightness of the bolts and nuts, and it's a medium difficulty job that requires just basic tools. As for tools, we're gonna need the 11/16, the 18mm, and the 21mm sockets, 2 3/4 ratchets, jack, lug nut wrench, puller, socket wrench, and second jack, jack stand, and 2 zip ties. First, and before jacking the car, we're going to loosen up the bolts and the lug nuts slightly, and then we can jack the car and put one of those red jack stands to support it. We have 3 bolts and nuts to remove. One is going to be on the right side, one on the left side, and the one in the front is the one attached to the ball joint. And then we're going to spray some WD-40. Sorry, I didn't mention that in the beginning, but it's really useful as it's going to make it easy to remove those bolts. And also, as you can see, this one is very rusty, so it's better to spray it and give it some time. Alright. Now we're going to remove the brake calipers using the 3/4 ratchet, and if it's too tight you can use a hammer to loosen it up and then take them off. Alright, the second one, the bottom one, is really tight, so we have to use socket wrench with an extension, just like a bar, to make it very long. It's going to make it so easy to loosen it up and then remove it. Now we're going to use those 2 zip ties that we had to attach the brake calipers to the strut springs so it doesn't fall, and it gives us some space so we can work easily. Now we're going to loosen the bolts with 18mm socket and use the second jack, that's the time to use it, to support the socket wrench from the bottom for better control, and use a 3/4 wrench for top nuts. Exact same thing to the one on the left, and as you can see, the jack stand make it so easy to get rid of those rusty nuts. Alright, the third one is going to be the bolt supporting the ball joint, and that's going to need the 11/16 socket and the 3/4 ratchet. And now it's time to remove those 2 nuts on the top and use the bar tapper. Just tap those 2 bolts down. Sometimes they come out easy, sometimes it takes some time, so just like tap it slightly so you don't damage the edge of those bolts, because it's going to make the nuts really hard to put them back on. Make sure to put the nuts on each bolt that belongs to, and remember where it goes. For the larger one, it goes always on the right, on the bigger side, and the small goes on the left. Now we're going to use the puller and the jack to pull out the ball joint So we have to jack it a little bit up and then remove and play with it until we get it off. Alright, now it's time to pull out the control arm as we got rid of those bolts, the 3 of them. I'm gonna try to get it out nicely, and here we go. This is the old one. It's manufacturer's lower control arm. As you can see, the sign, the Nissan Murano sign. As you can see, the rubber is ripped, which made all the grease came out and make that clicking noise, and that is no good. So we'll have to put a new one. Alright, and this is very important. Make sure to compare it with the new one that you just got to make sure it's matching the old one, and check the new one for any damage, any defective areas. And when you remove this cap, check that rubber, make sure it's not ripped in from any of those sides, just to make sure before putting it back on there. I'm gonna check it. It's all good, and now it's ready to mount. Alright, now we're going to slide it in exactly the same way as we pulled the old one, and we're going to use a hammer to tap it a little bit. It's okay to tap it, just needs to be nice, and use a screwdriver to align the holes so we can put the bolts back on. Alright, now we're going to put those 2 bolts and nuts, and make sure not to tighten them, because we're going to need some control on that arm so we can put the ball joint back in. This one can be very tricky, so we're going to show you an easy way to do it. You will just have to keep wiggling the wheel bearing nicely and adjust it, the ball inside, just inside the hole, and just tap it just lightly until it comes straight with the hole, and then we're gonna turn on the engine. Alright, now it's time to turn the car on, and then keep turning the steering wheel left and right, and then you're gonna need someone else extra so they can tap the ball joint slightly inside. This is much easier than the other methods that a lot of people have on YouTube, and it's gonna make it so easy. It's really nice, it goes smooth. Just make sure your car, the emergency brake is on and it's in a stable position. And now we're going to put the last bolt or nuts, the bolts in the ball joint. Make sure you tighten them carefully, nicely. After we get the ball joint tightened, then we're going back to those 2 bolts in the back. I'm gonna have to do a final tightness on them, and here we go. And now we put the rotor back on and screw it with those 2 block nuts. We're gonna use 2 of them just to make sure it's not falling off while we're putting the brake calipers back on. Alright, now it's time to put those brake calipers back on, and remember always to use some WD-40 on all the bolts and nuts, just to make those bolts go in easily. Sometimes you're gonna have to push the brake piston inside as it comes off when you turn on the car, so you just have to push it by hand or use a tool to push it back on so you can get the calipers back on the router. And that's all, folks. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like it, please give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And please turn on the bell so you can receive useful tips and how-to videos to work on your car, and it's gonna save you a fortune by going to the dealership and spend a lot of money just for something that easy that you can do just with basic tools. As you can see, we didn't use any special tools, any electric tools, just hand tools that anyone can have If you don't have some of them, you can always go to auto parts shops and then just rent them like AutoZone. You can just rent whatever you need, and once you're done, you can just take them back and get your money, and everything's going to be free, and you're going to save yourself a lot of money. See you in our next video.